Now, Iran has been targeting fuel storage facilities as the conflict in the Middle East enters its 13th day. It sent Brent crude oil prices above $100 a barrel. Bahrain's Interior Ministry has confirmed an attack on fuel storage tanks at a facility in Mukharak. It says authorities are securing the site. Iraq has suspended oil operations at its ports. That's after 2 foreign fuel tankers were hit in the port of Al-Faw in the south. At least 1 crew member was killed. Another 25 were rescued. In Oman, multiple drone strikes hit fuel storage tanks at the port of Salalah on Wednesday. The attack caused explosions and a major fire. Salalah is an important hub for tankers wanting to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. And 3 cargo ships were attacked in the strait on Wednesday. One was a Thai-flagged vessel. 20 crew members were rescued after a fire broke out on board. Our Dubai-based reporter Inzamam Rashid is live for us, overlooking the Strait of Hormuz in Dibba in the UAE. Now, we've been talking for the last 2 or 3 days about the tankers that have been piling up across the Strait of Hormuz, plus, of course, the attacks that are going on there. What are you saying from where you are?
Well, Rob, there are still around 1,000 vessels that are lined up, waiting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. They've anchored down because they know that they are not going anywhere, and they haven't shifted for around 8 days or so. 200 of them are crude oil tankers that are just parked up in the Strait of Hormuz. Behind me, you may be able to see just in the very faint distance, there are a few vessels currently sat there. To my left around the corner, there are dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, just lined up, waiting to get the signal that they can cross. But right now, we know that the Strait of Hormuz is in the control of the Iranian military, meaning that any vessel that does attempt to cross will be targeted. We've seen the evidence of that over the last few days. A couple of nights ago, from my balcony here in the distance, around 15 miles that way, probably Iranian waters, we saw a vessel on fire, burning, that was burning for a good few hours. And then since then, we've had reports of a number of vessels targeted by the Iranian military. It seems that over the last 48 hours, 72 hours or so, Iran has specifically been targeting energy resources, whether it is oil facilities across the wider Gulf. Obviously, we've seen the attack on a couple of vessels in Iraq waters as well, or whether it's been here on the Strait of Hormuz, not just blocking the strait, but also targeting vessels as well. You spoke there about one of the ships on the north of Oman, which was struck. That was a Thai flag carrier where 20 members of the crew were rescued. There's still 3 members believed to be missing at sea. The Omani Navy have been incredibly busy, and we've seen other attacks since we woke up this morning to 2 further attacks on vessels across this region. This has now become a very perilous and a very dangerous passageway of water. Usually around 20% of the world's oil passes through here, 20 million barrels a day. That has been cut drastically to only around 10% of that operation, and that 10% actually includes Iran exporting their oils to the likes of China. What we've seen as a result, in fact, is now a very hostile situation. We've also known, Rob, that over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of conversation around mines and potential Iranian mines being laid in the water. There still hasn't been any confirmation whether that has happened, or whether, in fact, as Donald Trump has been saying, that they have obliterated the mining capability of Iran by releasing footage of some small boats that have been docked, blowing them up. But there's still no confirmation whether there are mines in this water. If it has got to that stage, this will be a worst case scenario for tankers trying to cross through the straits. It will also be a worst case scenario for the oil markets as well, which we know full well are having a huge impact around the world. Last night at a rally in Kentucky, Donald Trump was clear, saying that the oil markets are fine, they're going down. He also mentioned that ships can pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That very simply is not the case. Oil markets are once again rising, and ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz are in incredible danger. Rob.
Okay, let's go westward from the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to come to Doha. Zein Basravi live for us there. So, of course, Iranian attacks still targeting the Gulf states. What is being aimed at in the Gulf?
Well, we heard earlier all of the list of places, the long list of places that have been attacked since this morning, and they really include almost every country in the GCC. Once again, this has been ongoing for 2 weeks. Just in the last few hours, Kuwait International Airport, another drone attack there causing damage. Dubai, another drone attack there in the last couple of hours after an explosion was heard in the center of the city. And earlier this morning, throughout the morning from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. and onwards, the UAE reporting that it was dealing with drone and missile threats. Saudi Arabia dealing with drone and missile threats again this morning at the Prince Sultan Air Base, targeting the Sheba oil field. Kuwait, as well as Oman, as you said, Bahrain as well. Constantly, these attacks are consistent throughout the day. And so what we are seeing is that Iran is placing pressure naval pressure on the Strait of Hormuz, using that as a pressure point. In the skies over the Arab cities, it is retaliating against for cooperating with the United States, as it says. It is putting aerial pressure from the skies with these missile and drone attacks, targeting these Arab neighbor cities on the ground. There is also economic pressure by way of targeting energy infrastructure, oil and gas infrastructure, as we have seen throughout the last 2 weeks in the course of these attacks. They've been hitting Oman, a bypass to the Strait of Hormuz. They've started hitting their oil tankers, their oil export facilities. So we are seeing these pressure points getting bigger and expanding, and the attacks are spreading. And one thing that's interesting is the economic pressure point they're using now. Iran had a bank that was struck. An Iranian bank was struck as part of the Israeli attacks being carried out on Iran. After that, it said it would attack U.S. and Israeli affiliated banks in the region. As such, Citibank has announced it is closing branches in the UAE. Standard Chartered is closing branches in Dubai. HSBC is closing branches here in Qatar. And this is not just in these regions. Banks across the region are taking note of this threat by Iran and shuddering. And this is the kind of economic interruption. This is the kind of disruption to the economic marketplace that Iran is aiming to cause now after coming under attack itself, saying that if you attack our water, if you attack our oil, if you attack our infrastructure, we will do the same to anyone in the region that is or is not aligned, that is aligned with the United States, that hosts U.S. assets, and we're seeing that come to bear once again, this time on the economic banking front.
Yeah, Zein, from the start of this war, the Gulf states have broadly been saying we are not going to get involved in any attacks on Iran, that we will continue to defend ourselves as much as we can. And nevertheless, of course, they've been facing the pressure that you've been describing. How are the Gulf states responding to this?
Well, all they can do at this stage is react and try to keep their cool. And that's what we've seen the leaders, the capitals of the Gulf Arab states try to do. They've talked about condemning Iran. They've tried to stall this war that the United States and Israel started in the Middle East, yet another conflict started by the U.S. and Israel in this part of the world. They've tried to campaign against it. They've tried to appeal to Iran, saying that they should not be the target of Iran's retaliation. And they've called what Iran is doing a miscalculation, especially when it comes to allies like Oman and crucially Qatar. Qatar has been very close with Iran for years in terms of economic and trade ties, but also in terms of a partner to help negotiate different deals and different conflicts with the United States throughout the course of the last few years. Now, Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister was speaking to the Council of Ministers here in Qatar, talking about the way forward, and here's what he had to say.
نجتمع اليوم والمنطقة تمر في ظروف عصيبة.
We meet today as our region is going through grave circumstances due to the ongoing military escalation that has affected the region and has also targeted the state of Qatar, regrettably, with repeated attacks from Iran, which have not been limited to military targets alone, but have also struck civilian targets, showing little regard for the harm inflicted upon Qatar and the resources of its people. At this stage, it is important to recognize the significance of the moment our country is going through. Qatar has faced many difficult challenges in recent years, and each time, by the grace of God, we have emerged stronger. Such experiences have taught us the importance of perseverance and the need to continue strengthening the resilience of our country in the face of such challenges. Therefore, under the current political and economic circumstances, I urge you all to prioritize spending in ways that strengthen our resilience. And when this hardship passes, God willing, we must maintain this same level of commitment.
So Arab leaders in the region are livid. They're livid that the United States and Israel launched this conflict. They're livid at Iran's retaliation targeting them when they say that they are simply not direct actors in this war. But what they realize they have to do is be the ones that try to have cooler heads prevail and try to maintain the semblance of a negotiating table, because there is no punching your way out of a fight like this. You may start with missiles, but this conflict has to end with dialogue.
Zein, thanks very much. Zein Basravi there in Doha.